So today we're going to talk about some of the basics of tapping, and then I'm going to show you a little exercise that you can kind of get your foot in the door and have something to work on until the next lesson. So first things first, the actual basic mechanics of tapping. You'll see a lot of people tapping a lot of different ways. I advocate one way for 99% of the stuff that you're going to do, and that is tapping with your middle finger. This keeps the pick in between your thumb and your index finger where it should almost always be, except if you're doing some weird two-handed tapping thing, which that's great. In that situation, break the rule, it's the exception, go nuts, but for the most part, you should only tap with your middle finger. You see a lot of people tapping a lot of different ways. For instance, you see people tap with their pick, like on the side of it, and that's okay, I guess. I think that it sounds a little bit too sharp, and it's a little awkward having to make that hand transition there. Same thing with tapping with your index finger, which I know a lot of people prefer to do. And if you do, that's great. I suggest trying to break the habit, but you're still going to be able to play a few of the things that I'm going to show you in these videos. So, first things first. Oh, sorry. Why I don't like the index finger. That's what I was going to do next. So, I don't like it because you go from picking, just normally playing, and then your tapping section comes up and you have to put the pick in your mouth to play it like this, and now you're tapping, or you have to transition it from your index in your thumb to your ring in your thumb, and then that frees this finger up, and it's just sort of awkward. It takes too much time, it takes too much energy, and it's just much more fluid if you just go from picking like this to just tapping like this. There's no effort involved at all there. You're already almost in position. Like, for instance, if I were to play this little minor scale thing here, which is just like... You couldn't play that if you're playing with, say, your index finger or learning to tap with the side of your thumb, or the side of the pick. There's no time to make that transition. And that breaks your playing up into, like, this is my picking section, and then I need a second to put the pick in my mouth, and then I tap, and then I need a second to take the pick out of my mouth. It just sort of... what's the word I'm looking for here? It kind of boxes you in, I guess, is how I put it. Okay, so, sorry, I have notes. The second thing is the actual basic mechanics of how to tap. And this is sort of the hard thing to, I guess, get started, but once you get it, it's like a, light bulb going off in your head. It seems very natural. So, what you're going to do is, you're actually going to push down with your finger, and then, I'm not trying to flip you off, you push down with your finger, and then you're going to flip off to the side, like that. So it's almost like a circular motion, as opposed to just, say, pushing down and lifting your finger off. If you do that, if you push down and lift your finger off, you can see me do it here, so you get sort of an uneven tone between the two notes. The lower note doesn't sound out as clearly. For instance, you get like a... Whereas if you push down and flick off to the side, it makes it sound much more smooth and even. Like, see how those two notes kind of sound really similar? Anyway, so yeah, I forgot what I was going to do, sorry. So you're going to push down and push off to the side. And that is actually the first tapping lick that we're going to go over. You're going to push down on the 7th fret with your ring finger. So sorry, I'm kind of trying to keep it in the frame here. So you push down on the 7th fret, which is a B on your E string. Then you're going to push off to the side and try and get the open note on that string, the open E, to sound out really clear and smooth. So you're going to get like a... And both those notes should be about the same. You might find that the open E is a little bit louder, just because it's got a little bit more power coming into it. But that's the basic gist of it. You want to make sure that also when you're tapping, the what's that? The butt of your palm, I guess, is resting lightly across the strings while you tap, so that you get this going. Otherwise, while you tap, it's going to make a lot of sympathetic vibrations in the other strings. They're going to sound out. If you're playing with distortion, it's going to sound really... Well, here, just listen. And if you mute, you get the... You just hear what you are trying to do. You don't hear all this other noise in the background. That's just good advice in general, by the way. You should kind of always be muting the notes you're not playing. But I'm going to do a lesson later on how to mute what you pick and how to mute what you sweep and play chords and all that. So, once you have that basic motion figured out, 7, open, 7, open. Practice that for a little bit. Give yourself 5-10 minutes until you get that really clear. Make sure that you always practice through an amp, by the way, because that way it sort of amplifies your mistakes. Otherwise, if you just play, you know, sit on the couch or whatever, not that I don't do that a lot, and not that you can't do that a lot, sorry, the other way. Not that I don't do that a lot, and not that you can't do that a lot, but it will sometimes mask errors that you don't even realize you're making. So it's good to have that amplified, good to have it clean, so that you can get a good idea of how you're doing. So once you've got that sort of figured out, you might realize that it sounds kind of boring compared to other tapping that you've heard. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a third note in there. We're going to take those 2 notes and we're going to make them a triplet. And you're going to do that by tapping the 7th fret, flicking to the open string, and then hammering on with this hand onto the 3rd fret. So you get it pretty simple, right? Figure that out really slow, really clean, through an amp, and sort of gradually speed it up as you get more used to it. And you'll find that it doesn't take a lot of effort to make it sound really cool and fast. So you just basically, like, okay, so basically sped up, it sounds like this. Sounds really hard, right? It's not. Because all your hands are doing is just, this hand is just going, and that's simple, you know, and this hand is just going, but you put them together and you get this awesome sounding flurry of notes that, you know, it sounds really cool. It's basically the point I'm trying to get at here. So do that for a little while, and then we're going to get to the final exercise, which is turning 3 notes into 4 notes. We're going to turn this triplet into 16th notes. The way we're going to do that is by adding a pull-off after the hammer-on. So you're going to tap the 7th fret, flick off to the open one, hammer on to the 3rd fret again, and then pull off from the 3rd fret to the open. So that was a little over-exaggerated. I can see myself, so that was a little funny looking. But anyway, you're going to do that. Just 7 open, 7 open, 3 open, 7 open, 3 open. Pretty simple. But again, like the triplet tapping lick, sounds okay slow, sounds crazy fast. For example, right? Sounds really crazy. Not that difficult. Not that much motion involved in your 2 hands. You just need to spend a couple minutes working through your amp, and once you think it's clean, go put on a movie or something and sit down on the couch and just annoy, you know, your family or your roommates. And that about covers it, I guess, for today. If anyone has any questions, if there's anything I didn't cover, oh, by the way, the 3 notes you're playing there are E, G, and B. It's just a little, is that right? Yeah, E, G, and B. And that's just a little E minor triad. So if you're playing an E minor, you can throw that in there, and it sounds pretty cool. Right, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if there's anything else you want me to cover, just let me know either on Facebook or on YouTube. And I'll either answer them there, or I'll, you know, make another video in the future that covers that stuff. In the next lesson, we're going to be doing a few more advanced tapping techniques. So practice this, come back in about a week, and good luck. Thanks for watching.